So before reading the article, I really didn't think a lot about grading students with disabilities, or really grading in general, but what I found after reading the article was that there are a lot of difficulties in grading students with disabilities, especially those identified on with an identified disability on an IEP. One of the biggest things that I found was that a lot of the biggest issue is that if students don't necessarily meet the standard required for that grade, then it gets tricky because you don't want to fail that student even if they've learned, but they still didn't meet the standard. So grading traditionally in a standards-based classroom doesn't necessarily work for those students. So that being said, there's a modified curriculum for those students where the standards are modified in a way, or changed and altered in a way that are more achievable for those students based on their IEP. So that's not necessarily for all students who have a disability. Students who have disabilities like visual impairments, or who have a hard time reading even, won't necessarily have all of their standards altered or modified, because they still can meet the regular standard requirements and achieve to that level. This is more for students who have cognitive or comprehensional, I guess, disabilities that really don't allow them to meet those same level of standards. So especially students who have severe mental disabilities or cognitive disabilities. Like if a student has severe autism or Down syndrome, it definitely wouldn't be easy for them to meet the standards of a regular fourth grader. So in terms of grading in a standards-based classroom, it's different in the sense that students who have a modified curriculum, they have different standards. They have different goals that they're trying to meet, and they're monitored just to make sure that they're actually meeting those goals, they're meeting those standards. But it's not necessarily, I don't think it's as rigid as it is for the other standards-based classroom. They get grades. I guess the way that they're similar is that in a standards-based classroom, like the goal or the grade achieved for meeting the standard is separate from the product is separate from the process and the progress that student makes during that time. So they get like different grades for each of those different things, which gives the parents really a better picture of like how their student is growing or achieving in that classroom, which helps them in turn help their kid to further achieve those standards or goals for that class. So in my classroom, I think one, I would definitely have to work with my IS a lot to see how can I modify things for my student. I mean, of course, these things would be mapped out in an IEP. Hopefully, I don't know. I've never been a part of an IEP meeting, nor have I seen an IEP firsthand, but I think it would definitely be helpful to constantly refer back to that and refer back to the standards in my classroom and think about the student individually and how I can help them best achieve the goal in mind, or even differentiating a lot so that all of my kids would be able to meet their goals and learn in a way that they can access the material or access the resources so that they can learn to their best ability.